Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Slot Podcast, where we talk about football and everything football related.
Welcome, guys. My name is Ahmed, and this is Adam. We'll be talking about, like he said, everything football, all news, all draft picks, anything that comes up football related. We might even dip into fantasy a little bit. So
Just a little
get
bit.
ready, get excited, and yeah,
We got TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Twitter, about to upload to YouTube coming soon. Follow us, Slot Podcast on everything.
let's go, guys. So just to kind of jump into things, I feel like the most recent topic that we can kind of jump into for everyone is the draft.
NFL
I think
draft,
that
bro.
there were a lot of good moves in the draft, a lot of bad moves in the draft, some perfect timing in the draft. Um, so yeah, I mean, we can kind of jump right into it. Adam, what do you think? Who do you feel like was your best? Who had your best draft class out of all 32 teams?
Honestly, in my opinion, best draft class had to go to the New England Patriots. The way they rebuilded the offensive line with Will Campbell, oh my God, he's like we saw what Joe Alt did last year with the Chargers. That was a beautiful pick. That was another top 10 first round pick with an O lineman. Joe Alt went insane last year. I think Will Campbell's gonna do. I know you've seen the interview. I will die to protect my QB. That's crazy. That's crazy. Patriots got an absolute dog out of Will Campbell, bro.
No, I definitely agree. I was actually just about to bring up that interview. No, it was awesome. I think that when you have a guy who's that dedicated to his craft, that dedicated to being on the field and protecting his quarterback, making sure his quarterback jersey stays completely white, I think that's someone that you can really rely on and someone you know that is going to uplift your franchise. And you don't necessarily always see an offensive lineman go in the top five, but I feel like when you do, it's kind of one of those home run picks where you're like, this
For
is a
sure.
guy who's going to come and make an immediate impact. And like you said, I mean, Joe Alt, he showed us exactly what his ability was and how he was able to kind of maneuver his playing time.
And the
I
thing with these
think that,
first, oh, you got it.
no, no, continue.
The thing with these first round picks that whenever they're on linemen, they're always on that like they're straight demons. They know exactly what they're doing. They're always NFL ready. It's not like certain QBs or certain like skill positions, they won't be like NFL ready coming out of the draft, and they'll still get picked out of the first round. But when almost every time you get an O lineman, first 10 too, that's crazy. That's like your O line. That's the Great Wall of China right there.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I'd say also, I think the other team that had a really good draft is the Seahawks, your Seahawks. Just
Yeah.
give you guys some background. As a Seahawks fan, I'm a Buccaneers fan. I felt like the Seahawks really did well with who they drafted, with where they drafted their picks. I think Gray Zabel is someone who can make an immediate impact. 18
Mm.
might have been a little early, whether you saw him as a first or second round player, but then to grab Nick Moore in that second round, uh, and then to continue to develop the offense, grabbing Torrey Horton in that fifth round, Damian Martinez even. I know you've got a solid running back room.
Yep.
That's someone who can also immediately make an impact. What would you think of your team's draft class?
Dude, I love the Seahawks did really well. Front office went crazy this offseason. We picked up Cooper Cup too, which honestly I didn't like it at first, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's a good pick because if you think about it, him and JSN, they're very similar players when it comes to receiver position. So that could be a very good like role model, inspiration, mentor type player for JSN. And he could end up, I already think he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league. So with being mentored by one of the best receivers, one of the receivers who had one of the best seasons of all time, that Rams Super Bowl season, Cooper Cup went insane. So to have that mentor on that team for an elite wide receiver who's only in his third year in the NFL, like the Seahawks are doing great things.
Yeah, I think it's unmatched. I think it allows them to kind of bridge onto that next wide receiver, like, whoever decides to come out and be that wide receiver too, whether it's Bobo, whether it's Horton, whether it's, I guess Marquez Valdez Scantling, whoever that player is who can kind of fill in the shoes of, I guess, someone like DK Metcalf. Yeah, I think Cooper Cup allows them to bridge it really well. Who did you think had the worst draft out of everyone?
Worst draft. I feel like everyone drafted pretty well, but I still do think the Browns. aren't good. Like they made some questionable choices because trading out of the second round pick, the second overall pick, I didn't really like that. You just gave the Jags like one of the greatest players we've seen, especially because he can play both sides of the ball. The Browns needed a wide receiver. They needed a cornerback too. Travis Hunter was both of those players. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he's not going to play both ways in the NFL. He definitely could. You could easily split up those snaps and have him play both sides of the ball. But they did have some good pickups, but also two QBs. Two QBs. We have like the Browns have five QBs now, and none of them are good.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, none of the quarterbacks are good. Drafted two running backs as well, Dylan Sampson, on top of Quinshon Judkins, which I think is a power back duo. But then on top of that, you got guys like Jerome Ford, you got Pierre Strong, a lot of depth in that room that isn't being protected by anyone. It just kind of makes for bad timing. I think just to talk about Travis Hunter a little bit, I think that he's got some of the best hands that I've seen. For a prospect coming out of college. And I think that primarily he should be a wide receiver, but when you have a guy like Liam Cohen who's running the offense, you've got a guy like James Gladstone who's running the front office. It kind of allows them for more flexibility. You know, the younger generation of the front office. I think you're right that they will allow him to play both sides, and I think he will be successful on both sides. So that's going to be really fun. On the Brown side of things, I do kind of see what they're looking at. There's no one to throw Travis Hunter the ball. Um, Even though I didn't really love their quarterback selections, there wasn't someone to throw him the ball at number two. So I think what they were thinking was we need a reset year, a full reset year. I think the last few years have been shaky, but they haven't committed to a full reset. They've kind of just been like, okay, maybe Watson comes back. So what do we do next? I think that they're committing to that now. And they said Mason Graham plus potentially, a top 7, top 10 pick next year is more valuable than having someone like Travis Hunter come in and not be able to produce much just because we don't have the team to surround him. In that case, I do think it was a bit of a win-win trade, but I think that Hunter's potential is unmatched. So it could go both ways, but I don't necessarily not see the side that the Browns came from.
See, my thing with the Brown is if they wanted to wait another year to draft QB, they should have made some like better signings. Like Kenny Pickett, that was not the right QB to pick. You had Justin Fields available, you had Aaron Rodgers available, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston even. You could have re-signed him. He would have been fine. Like we saw how he played against the Broncos. That was an electric game. That was such a good game.
It was a fun game. It's always fun when Jameis is in there.
The Broncos actually have a really good defense too. So the fact that he's able to put that many yards against a good, even though he did throw like three picks, but that's just classic Jameis Winston, like 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns, Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think at that point you need to grab a bridge quarterback, and I think you're right. They didn't really grab a bridge guy. I guess,
No.
Flacco is kind of known as a bridge guy. Pickett is going to get you maybe a few wins, but then they go out and draft two quarterbacks. So maybe it's okay. Maybe these are one of our franchise guys, or we take another shot in the 26th draft, which from my point of view is not looking too solid. I think Arch probably stays another year. So we've got Carson Beck, we've got Garrett Nussmeier, some of these guys, but I don't
I
feel it
think
was as strong as this year.
the
And
guy from
certainly
Penn
last year.
State, Penn
Drew
State,
Eller.
yeah,
So
Drew Eller.
he's got the potential. So maybe that's a fit, but um, it's to be determined. They've kind of pushed off this season in terms of priority.
So we get started on our draft power rankings.
Yeah, sure. So, what we have kind of written up for you guys today is we wanted to be able to create our off-season power rankings. So, power rankings after all free agency moves, after all draft moves. This is being recorded about a week after the draft. But we wanted to be able to come up with a comprehensive list of all 32 teams, and we thought it might be fun to kind of draft them from 32 to 1. So, I'll pick a team, Adam will pick a team, and we'll kind of explain why we have them at those spots. And yeah, I think we can kind of jump right into it. Do you want to flip a coin to start it up?
Yeah, let me get that real quick.
Yeah. So just a little background on the show. I think that the Slot Pod is an interesting name, and some people were wondering what it meant. So we love slot receivers. I love Chris Godwin, big, humongous Chris Godwin fan. He's a JSN guy. I'm a Cooper
Yep.
Cup guy as well. Just guys who really dominate in the slot, and we thought it would be kind of a creative name to start with our podcast.
Yeah,
So
because we needed
um,
something that it wasn't going to be a basic name, but it would also be football related at the same time. So, and if you know what the slot means, then you obviously know a good amount of football.
only ball knowers in this chat. All right, go ahead and flip that coin.
All right, what's your call?
Heads.
All right, we got heads.
There we go. There we go. All right, let's run it. Um, so yeah, this is just going to be a comprehensive power ranking. Go through some of the key additions, key people who left the team in free agency, or guys that they grabbed in the draft, and yeah, we'll run through our list. So at the 32nd spot, I have got an NFC South rival of the Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints,
We sure
who
this not biased, man? Come on.
this is not biased. I promise it's not biased. I think that the Saints desperately needed to do something, kind of similar to the Cowboys last season or even the season before, or any season that Jerry Jones has been the owner. Um, but I think the Saints needed to make do something impactful. They were sitting there at pick 9, and I think they had the opportunity to do something impactful. They went out and got Kelvin Banks Jr., which I will say, great pick. I think he's a solid player. I think he's someone who can make a difference. Who's he protecting? So then they go out and the second round they grab Tyler Shuck. Now everyone's watched the tape. Everyone's seen he had that one throw, sidearm, fit it in between 3 defenders. Great throw. I think he's a solid player who's got some tools, but he's a 27-year-old quarterback, 26, 27-year-old quarterback who doesn't have a long shelf life and also doesn't necessarily have the potential of guys who were drafted below him. I think that Jackson Dart was clearly above him. I think that even a guy like Shador, you could have considered maybe putting above Shuck. I think that middle tier of quarterbacks in this draft class was just very condensed, and I felt like they went with someone who was in the back half of it.
They had opportunities to take much better quarterbacks from this draft class. They had an opportunity to take Will Howard. They had an opportunity to take Shador. They had an opportunity to take Milrow. They had so many other people they could have picked. And Tyler Shuck, okay, maybe he had a good tape. Maybe he did do good in college, but you got to think about his age, and I really haven't seen any mobility from him. You also have a weak Saints O line. You got Kelvin Banks Jr., okay, but you still have a very weak Saints O line. You don't have too many good receivers. I'm like, so I didn't get that pick. I really thought the Saints were going with Shador at 9, just because of all the hype that was around him, and the fact that he fell to the fifth round with the Browns. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're in a position like this, you need a playmaker. You need a guy who's going to get your fans back into it. I mean, not necessarily, but I think that's something that always helps. And at number 9, I think they saw Tet being gone or T Mac gone off the board. And they said that, we need someone solid. And they saw Kelvin Banks and they went with that. Something that I did like that the Saints did is they drafted Devin Neal. Devin Neal, not great draft capital, but I do think he's a better running back than Kendre Miller, and I think that he's someone who can have a similar impact to Alvin Kamara. So that could definitely be exciting. But another kind of throwaway year for the Saints. Going to end up at the bottom of the NFC South, and not sure what they're doing with Derek Carr. I know he's not playing this season, so they're going to start Tyler Shuck, or if he doesn't work out,
Spencer
he becomes
Rattler.
yep, Spencer Rattler. And I don't know where you go from here. You need to kind of revamp the whole thing.
Yeah, I really didn't like their offseason moves. They didn't pick anyone good, and they didn't really address their needs. Like don't get me wrong, Chris Olave, he's really good receiver. He's very injury prone. He gets injured almost every season he plays. Derek Carr is also injured. Didn't get anyone to back him up, even if they wanted a bridge quarterback, as we already talked about. Running back room, they have Alvin Kamara, but I don't know how much longer he's going to stay with them. Probably till his contract's up, and then he'll switch to a different team because I don't see him coming back to the Saints.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Who'd you pick up at number 31?
At 31, I have the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns, kind of the same thing with the Saints. They didn't draft a good QB. I personally don't like Shador. I don't think he was a first round pick. So him getting drafted in the fifth round, I think he'd be good as a backup. But who's he being backup to? Deshaun Watson he's proven he's not good anymore. And he's coming off an Achilles or ACL tear, something like that. And then they got Kenny Pickett. I don't understand the Kenny Pickett uh, signing at all. If you were going to pick any QB, like we said before, it should have been Fields. It should have been Russell Wilson, maybe A-Rod. Any one of those QBs would have been better than Kenny Pickett. And then you would have had a decent starter to put in front of a decent rookie QB because they could have gotten Will Howard. They could have gotten Jalen Milroe. But I don't know. I think the Browns really sold on their picks that way. But the one thing I do like about them, they did pick up a good running back. I believe they got Quinshawn Judkins from the Ohio State. That was a very good pickup for them. Quinshawn Judkins, one of my favorite running backs in the draft. I had him, of course, Genty's at one. I had him behind Omarion Hampton at two, so he was probably my third, maybe fourth best running back in the draft. So that was a pretty good pickup for them.
Yeah, I like that pickup. I think evidently they just kind of loaded up on offense. Not the worst thing in the world, but grabbing Harold Fannin Jr., good solid pick, Judkins, Sampson. But like I was talking about before, why the two running backs? Why the two quarterbacks? Defensively, I thought they did okay in the draft. I think Mason Graham, home run pick. Um, Carson Schlesinger, I feel like he can make an impact right away. Kind of helping out with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And yeah, I think that they have a lot of work to do, but they kind of, like I said, just pushed off this year, and we'll see in 2026. I think that's kind of where we're at with the bottom teams here in our 2025 rankings.
What did you have for your next pick?
At 30th pick, I did have the Titans who grabbed Cam Ward. I think they're a really good team that needs time to figure things out, as any team with a rookie quarterback does. They put a lot of draft capital into Cam Ward. They got a huge investment, but I don't like how they didn't necessarily grab him a very good weapon. Something that I really liked that the Bears did last year was they got Caleb Williams, but they also got in Rome Odunze at pick 9.
Hmm.
And while they had Keenan Allen, they had DJ Moore, they said we need Caleb Williams to have a running mate from his first year all the way up until his 10th year with the franchise. And I think that's kind of what Cam Ward was lacking. I liked their pickup with Gunnar Helm, but I wasn't too much of a fan of them leaving Restrepo all the way to an undrafted free agent signing, them picking up Chimeri Dyke in the first, I think it was the fourth round. Not my favorite picks in the world. I thought there was a lot of talent that was available in those spots, and I just think that they could have done a better job providing Cam Ward with good weapons. I know that they have Tyler Lockett, they've got Calvin Ridley, and then obviously their defense needs a lot of work. They didn't do a whole lot. I know they've got Snead back there. They've got Devondre Sweat, but who's really your impact player on the defensive side of the ball, and that's to be determined. What do you think of the Titans?
Yeah, when you look at the Titans depth chart, you don't really see anyone that catches your eye. The only person you really see is Cam Ward, but like you said, that's a rookie quarterback, and they didn't give him the weapons to succeed. The
Yep.
people like you can't put a rookie quarterback in a bad situation, or you can't be in a bad situation, need a rookie quarterback, and not help him in that situation. Because what the Bears did with Caleb Williams, the Bears, honestly, I had very high hopes for them last season. They should have been a lot better than they did. I think they got unlucky, and it was just bad coaching overall. And I think it might be the same for the Titans. The Titans have a very similar team as the Bears did a couple years ago, where it's not very good players. Their defense is all right. I think they should have picked up literally any receiver in the first round, like first couple rounds, because Luther Burden fell. I think a couple other receivers fell, and I think Restrepo is a good pick, but There are a lot
Yeah,
of
with
other
him being an
options.
undrafted free agent, they're not even gonna prioritize him. So
Yeah, they'll probably have him as wide receiver four maybe, which is kind of
yeah, it
sad
doesn't
because
give him a lot of room to grow.
I really like Restrepo.
Yeah, he can definitely do a lot of damage. I'm really hoping that Gunnar Helm comes through for them. I think that he was super athletic at Texas. You know, he has good hands. Can make some contested catches. So I'm hoping that he can make an impact. I thought Chigozie Okonkwo didn't have the impact that people were looking for. So hopefully they can get that going. Who'd you have next?
Next, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders did a pretty good job at picking up Genty, even though I don't think he'll do good for the next couple of years just because they don't have the O line to sustain it. But they did pick up Geno Smith. I think I can't remember if they got a new wide receiver or not. But
They did not pick up one in free agency, but they grabbed Jack Besh in the second
yeah,
round.
so I mean, they do have Jacoby Myers, they do have Brock Bowers, so I guess they still can succeed. I don't like Geno as a quarterback as much just because I think the O-line is worse than it was when he was at Seattle. And even though he could escape the pocket, he's getting older, he's getting injured more. He's not going to be able to, he's not a sustainable quarterback. And the fact that they signed him for 3 years, I'm not a big fan of that.
Sorry, the camera's on the fritz a little bit here. We'll switch that off for now. Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think that their receiver room has much, and um, they didn't make any huge picks in the draft besides Genty. I think Besh is someone who can make an impact right away, which is good. But how high is his potential? How high are we looking here? I think that another person who actually I liked that they drafted was Dante Thornton Jr.
Mhm.
Someone who can grab the long ball. I think that's something that he likes to throw, so that could definitely be interesting. So I guess we'll see. I definitely like that pick for you there at 20.
All right, after the Raiders, we have the Jets.
Yeah, I the Jets, man. They fascinate me every year. They continue to make moves that puzzle me. I think that the Aaron Rodgers signing 2 years ago, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Kind of, you grab Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. You grab young weapons. You got guys like Sauce Gardner. You got guys like Will McDonald. And these guys are all making impacts out there on the field. And then you got a 40-year-old quarterback. Now, you know, unfortunately, things didn't work out with Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't with a veteran quarterback. But then, as your next quarterback move, you grab a young, unproven guy. And I think that what the Jets need right now is consistency. They need a guy who's going to come in, who's going to throw the ball to the receivers. He's going to hit Garrett Wilson on his slant routes. He's going to throw the ball to Malachi Corley on, you know, throw it behind the line of scrimmage, give him some yak. You need a guy who's going to be able to do these types of things, and we haven't seen that from Justin Fields yet. I know that the hype is there. I know that he's a good quarterback. I know he's got legs. He's got great legs. We haven't seen what we needed to see yet that shows that he can be the starting quarterback of an NFL team. I liked his first 6 games with the Steelers last year. They were good. But is he going to make the impact that you need to actually compete, or are you going to be stuck in those bottom, 12 teams every single year, back to back to back, end up at pick 7, pick 8 every single time? And grab Armand Membu, great pick. He's going to have an impact as well. But who's he protecting? Is Justin Fields a 1 year guy, or is he the long term plan? And if he's the long term plan, who's developing him? Who's showing him the ropes?
Honestly, I don't think Justin Field needs any like because everyone always brings up this, oh, Justin Field, they should have put him behind like he needs to be behind a good QB, blah blah blah. I don't think he does. I think Justin Fields, if you give him the right weapons, he'll figure out his situation. Because at the end of the day, he was never a terrible quarterback. He was never at the bottom of the like QB list. He was always like somewhere closer to the middle. So now that he's on the team, he has someone to protect him. He has Armand Membu, okay, and then he has a good receiver. Is Garrett Wilson, which is a great receiver. You could put him in your top 10, top five maybe. And then you have Brees Hall, which is another running back that you could also use as a receiver. And not only that, Justin Fields has legs. Like Justin Fields, he can run the ball up and down the field. He can escape the pressure. It's just it's I think with him it's a playmaking thing, but that can also be solved with a good head coach. So if he gets some good coaching from the Jets, I think the Jets are in for maybe not a terrible season, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They've definitely made some front office changes, but I think that's a team we're on the lookout for. Next, we've got the other New York team. We got the Giants.
Man, the
They made some
Giants.
big changes, man. They made some big changes. I
Russell
don't know that they
Wilson
were
or
good
Jameis
changes.
Winston?
Yeah,
Russell.
they were just kind of average changes, but they seem to like Jackson Dart. I don't know if it's them going to find their next Eli Manning, grabbing an Ole Miss guy who's tall, who can read the field.
He takes
Maybe
too
that's
many
what they were
hits,
going
though.
for.
Have you seen Jackson Dart run?
He does. He takes a lot of hits.
I swear, when he runs the ball, it looks like Rob Gronkowski. That's what it looks like to me. It looks
Yeah, it's
he's just
the
trying to
movement
break
is
through the
not great,
defense. He's not he's
but they
not
did
like
that
you.
with Eli Manning.
That's true.
They
But
did do it. I mean, they got two Super Bowls out of it.
who's protecting him?
I
That's
will say that the O line is not horrible. I think that Evan Neal switching to guard has made somewhat of an impact, but I think that you're right. There's a lot of work to do on that offensive line. There's not a ton of help for them. So that's definitely something that they can improve on. But this is more of a 4 year outlook rather than it is a 1 year outlook because you got him on a 4 year deal. You know that he's going to be around for that long. And Russ and Jameis are not going to be around for that long. Russ is on a 1 year deal. Jameis is on a 2 or a 3. Um, and yeah, you got a guy like Andrew Thomas in there who can maybe help him. So I think evidently the Giants are on the path to becoming the team that they want to. But I think this season is going to be a confusing one. This is going to be a do we start Russell Wilson? Do we start Jackson Dart? I think Malik Neighbors is going to have some frustrations. Who's throwing me the ball? What's going on here? But I
Jackson
think
Dart
this is a
is
build up.
most likely not getting playtime this season. I think they put him
You don't
behind
think
Russell.
so?
I think they put him behind Russell Wilson because honestly, Jackson Dart is not NFL ready, and
Yeah.
I think that offense is just going to struggle a lot for the next year or two maybe. But the defense, can
Defense
we
is
take some
elite.
time to
Defense is
appreciate the
elite.
defensive line that they now have? Like the fact that they have Dexter Lawrence
It's
and they
so
have
nice.
Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter was my favorite player in this draft. He's so
Yep.
good. I think overall he's a better player than Travis Hunter. He's a better player than Cam Ward. Just like just the way he can pressure the quarterback, he'll get the running back. He switched from I believe he switched from a linebacker to a defensive end,
He did. Yep.
which
Yep.
that just shows he'll be able to get interceptions as the D lineman because they can
Yeah,
have him
that's
play
fair. I
both
love
positions.
their D line. Yeah. Yeah, I love their D line. It's absolutely impeccable.
Brian Burns too, man.
Um,
I forgot they had
Ryan
Brian
Burns.
Burns.
Ryan Burns, man, he's going to be a fun player.
Those three on the
What'd
line,
you
I
think
don't
of
think anyone's
what'd you
gonna.
think of the Cam Scatterboot pick?
Ooh, see, Cam Scatterbo, he has a lot of hype from him, like a lot of hype around him from one good game. Because no one knew who he
Ooh,
was. No one knew who he was until that game. I'll say that. Like everyone that's talking about Cam Scatterbo, that y'all didn't know who he was before that game. I think
yeah.
he might be a bust, but honestly, the way he runs the ball, he runs the ball really aggressively. It's kind of like a David Montgomery thing, but like less
Hmm.
coordinated. He's
Yeah, I agree.
he just seems like he just kind of runs. That's about it. I don't think he has any plan on where he's going. He just runs.
I didn't know this, or I hadn't seen this for a while, but Devin Singletary is with the Giants this
Yeah.
season as well. And, you know, Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, Eric Gray, along with Cam Scatterboot, I think you might be right. He actually may not see the field as much as he wants to this season. I forget where they grabbed him. It was the third or the fourth round, but
Fourth round.
um, yeah, I think you're right on that. Who did we have next? We
Next
had.
was the Cowboys.
Oh, that's your pick.
Yep.
Yep.
Next we got the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, the Dallas Cowboys had an opportunity to do very good things for this season. Why didn't they take Matthew Golden? Why didn't they? Tyler Booker, great pick, but they could have taken Matthew Golden. Could have taken Emeka Ibuka. They could have taken Luther Burden, who was one of my favorite receivers in the draft. And they needed a receiver. Who is Dak throwing to besides CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee Lamb cannot continue carrying this offense on his back because Dak has proven himself to be unreliable. I'll say that over the 10 years or so he's been in the league, he's proven himself to not be as reliable as Dallas fans want him to be because I don't think he has won a playoff game in his ten years. And it's not even like the Cowboys have sucked for those 10 years. They've been playoff caliber teams. Even 2 years ago when they played the Packers in the first round, they should have won that game. They had everything they needed to win that game, and they didn't. And they had Tony Pollard back then too, so they had a good running back. And now they for some reason re-signed Elliott, then they cut him. This is the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, he doesn't know what he's doing, and the Cowboys are honestly on a downhill. It's just downhill from here.
Yeah, they're on a spiral downhill. I think that they saw like I said before, I think they saw T Mac come off the board. They said, "Oh snap, we didn't get the receiver that we wanted." Um,
But T-Mac was
I
never
don't know
leaving
why
the
they
top.
went.
He was going top 10 no matter what.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think that Golden might have been an okay pick for them. I think that they feel like they have some similarity between him and Tolbert, which is understandable. Him and kind of a guy like Brandon Cooks, who was there before. And yeah, I think Golden was the pick, but maybe not at 12. Golden or actually Egbuka. I think Egbuka could have been someone who came in and made an impact immediately, but I think that they didn't want to pick them at 12. So I really think they should have looked at some trading down scenarios, finding someone, between 18 and 24, 18 and 30, to grab a receiver, whether it was Egbuka, whether it was Golden, whether it was someone else coming off the board. But they definitely could have made a move there to ensure that they got an offensive weapon and just decided not to.
Yeah, because right now they're kind of in the same position as the Jets, wide receiver wise, because right now Justin Fields is only throwing to Garrett Wilson. Dak Prescott is
Mm-hmm.
only throwing to CeeDee Lamb. And don't get me wrong, CeeDee Lamb, he's in my top three. He's definitely like elite, one of the best receivers in the league right now. But he's not enough to carry a mid offense to do good things because I know the Cowboys aren't gonna start rebuilding. They're not gonna tank because Jerry Jones wants to go to playoffs. I think he wants to win a ring. It doesn't look like it the way he's making moves though. I just don't like how they don't have any help for Dak or they don't have any help for CD.
Yeah, I mean, this is a consistent theme with the Cowboys. Um, Next pick. So this is my pick. I went with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm a big Anthony Richardson. I won't say believer, hopeful. I'm an Anthony Richardson hopeful. I'm someone who would love to see Anthony Richardson succeed, but man, he makes some bad throws. There have been some that I'm watching and it's unfathomable. There was that one where he was on like the 2 yard line and hit the little floater, and it just landed in the defender's hands, and I was kind of like flabbergasted.
It's like he thinks he's Lamar Jackson. He thinks he can do what Lamar Jackson can do. Because Lamar
And he
Jackson,
doesn't need to.
yeah, Anthony Richardson, he's just a really funny, like this is funny watching him play. I
I
don't know
swear,
what the
if
Colts
he
are thinking.
made better decisions like 50% of the time, he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL.
I don't.
And
I think
right
if
now, we're talking about competition with him and Daniel Jones. Like,
I think if they started him behind an actually good QB, like if they put like not even an actually good QB, just a QB that can make good plays, then he would have been able to succeed within like the first 2 years of him being in the league.
Yeah, we also have to remember though, it's technically this year will be his second season. I don't count that first season, 4 games. I wouldn't consider that to be a full season, but I think this is really his chance. I think Bryce Young had this same chance last season, and actually he started failing right away, and they benched him. And then they went back to him, and he showed them what he could do. So this
Bryce
is
Young is
Richardson's
showing a
chance.
lot of promise.
Yeah, so I mean, whether he does something with it is up to him. I thought that them going out and being able to land Tyler Warren was huge. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that was a great move that they were able to pull off. Um, he's going to make an immediate
I
impact.
had
He's
him
going to
falling to the Colts in my mock draft, and I was pretty happy with that pick for them because that is Tyler Warren, amazing tight end. Amazing tight end. Like
now. What do you think about him going after Colston Loveland?
I was very surprised. See, the Bears, I thought, okay, Genty was taken. You guys kind of needed a running back. Maybe they'll go receiver. Maybe they'll go tight end. And my thought process was, okay, if you're gonna go tight end, why not go Tyler Warren? But they went with Coastal Loveland. So I think I'm gonna just trust Ben Johnson on this because it seems like he has a vision for this offense that he wants to kind of play out. I think he's trying to put a like two tight end scenario because the Bears have Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is very solid, very good receiving tight end. Colson Loveland, very good route running tight end as well. So it looks like they can have two threats on each side of the line. You don't know if they're running for the ball or if they're going to block. So that's a good pickup for the Bears. And I don't know how I don't get why he went over Tyler Warren. I still think Tyler Warren is a better tight end overall, just from the way he makes plays, the way he runs. He runs very aggressively, and it's just electric watching him play the game.
I agree with that, Ted. I think the Bears saw some of the things that they liked from Cole Kmet in Colson Loveland, and I think that they also saw the size. I mean, Loveland is 6'6", 285, which is great size for a tight end. Tyler Warren is 6'5", though. So, I mean, the size isn't a huge difference, but, maybe they saw the build and saw that they liked the fact that Colson Loveland was bigger.
See,
Just went with
Tyler
that.
Warren, I see a George Kittle type of tight end. I think that's like exact like NFL comp for Tyler Warren. He's literally just George Kittle, and
Yeah,
they
definitely.
both have long hair too. So same person, bro.
It worked out the same way.
Yeah.
Next we had pick 24. Who'd you pick at 24?
At 24, I have the Miami Dolphins. I honest,
Ooh,
I just I don't like anything the Dolphins do, to be honest. They they don't really do anything, and I don't think their coach is working out for them. I think they need to find a new head coach. They need to figure out.
really?
Yeah, I think Tua is not the answer. Tua is too injury prone. You get scared every time he runs the ball because you don't know if he's gonna get back up after. And then you have an elite but pretty old wide receiver who hasn't really done too much since or no, I won't say that, but he didn't do as good as he did 2 years ago, which was an almost 2,000 yard season, and then you go and have like one of your worst seasons in your career. Like what? I don't
Yeah.
understand. I don't get why. I guess maybe you could blame it on Tua being injured, but even so, Tyreek Hill should be the center point of this offense, and I don't think the Dolphins are doing a good way of building around him or getting him as much help as he needs.
Yeah, I will say he had that wrist injury lingering all of last season. Tua, man, I think he has a lot of work to do as a quarterback. I think he's solid, but just yeah, I think that what they're doing right now in terms of coaching, in terms of the movement, is not great. But I think this is an offense that has a lot of potential. You got Devon Chan, you've got Jalen Waddle, you've got um, Tyreek Hill as well. So there's a lot of movement that could be made, and I mean, I guess we'll see. I think that they're a team who could, yes, end up at this 24 spot, but I think they're also a team who could end up maybe in the at the 16 spot. Someone who could end up. I don't think they go any higher than 16, but someone who's in that higher half of NFL teams. But um, my next pick was number 23, and I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. They are a team that's been consistently at the bottom for the last couple years. Another NFC South rival of mine. Shout out the Bucks. NFC South continues to have teams in the bottom 20. So, Bucks will take those free round one exits. But yeah, I have the Panthers here at 23. I like what Bryce Young is doing. I like what they've done surrounding him with McMillan, surrounding him with Leggett. Their running back room looks solid. Chuba. I know they got Jonathan Brooks. He probably won't play this year. But they got Chuba and Rico Dowdle back there.
Jimmy
Two guys
Horn.
who can make the impact. I do like Jatavion Sanders in their offense, and I think they've done a good job developing on defense. I think that I liked Jalen Walker, who was available for them at number 8. Guy who's a Carolina native, guy who can come in and play for your city. But at the end of the day, they needed McMillan, and I think that was the right move.
I,
So yeah, I think they're a promising team.
I
It
think
depends what Bryce Young can do.
the Panthers made J.C. Horn the highest paid corner in the league now,
Yep,
which
yep, they did.
honest that's pretty good for them because you need that type of player on your defense. You need that cornerback that can make plays and
That franchise guy. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like he's kind of like I think like a Trent McDuffie like type of. I think they're very similar. He's not Pat Surtain, don't get me wrong. Pat Surtain, oh my God, I love Pat Surtain. He has two greatest corner in the league.
yeah. I mean, there's no competition to PS2, but JC Horn is a very good player. He's a guy who can come in and play really good zone defense. He's a guy who can, even lock up your number one sometimes. So a guy who has a huge impact on the defensive side of the ball. And but I evidently just think that it relies on Bryce Young to get the ball out to his players. And if he can create for this offense, this is an offense that can jump into maybe the top 20 this season. Number 22, who did you draft?
We got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, them
Ooh,
trading up
okay, okay.
for Travis Hunter was probably the best decisions they could have made. Even though, like, I don't see the thing is with the Jags, I don't know what they're gonna do about their QB situation because I think Trevor Lawrence is still going to be injured for the first couple weeks of the season, maybe. So he might
Oh, okay.
miss preseason too. I'm not sure on that, but I honestly I don't like Trevor Lawrence too much. I don't think he's as good as people once made him out to be. So they could be putting Travis Hunter at a cornerback position, which would be pretty good. Or they could have him be a number two to Brian Thomas Jr., which Brian Thomas is very good wide receiver. One of those great LSU guys. Came with Malik Neighbors. You know, he would have came with Kyron Lacy. Kyron Lacy would have came too, but rest in peace.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, and yeah, I mean, Kyron Lacy, man, just take a moment to talk about him. Really talented player who got caught up in a bad situation. And I wish
Right.
he had made it to the league. I think that he uh, he had a lot of talent,
He would have
and
been
that's someone who will be remembered.
one of those crazy LSU guys, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, OBJ, all these guys, and he would have been the next.
He was next. Um, just speaking about the Jags, I think that having two threats in BTJ and Travis is always a good thing. I think this is Trevor's kind of make it year. Are you elite or are we gonna have to find someone to replace you in the future? Because they've given him all the weapons that he needs. I know they got rid of Evan Ingram, but they gave him. He's got Travis Etienne back there. They drafted a running back in the draft as well, and they
What
got
do
him
you think
Travis
of
Hunter. I mean, they
ETN
got a guy who's got.
as a running back?
What'd you say?
What do you think of ETN as a running back? Because honestly, I don't like. I think they should get a new one, a new guy
I'm
back there.
I'm an ETN hopeful as well. I want to see him succeed. He's got good ball skills. He's got great receiving skills. he doesn't find the hole in the offensive line. He kind of just runs into his line sometimes. He doesn't make great decisions with the ball, but then when he does, it is electric. You'll see him have -1 yard rush, -2 yard rush, and then a 17-yard rip, 22-yard rip, and you're just confused because like there's some weeks where he'll do that really well, and then there's some weeks where I think there was a week where he had like 3 yards or something, or I think it was like 5 carries for a yard, and it just leaves you confused. Like, what do you make of this guy? Um, but yeah, evidently the Jags go as far as Trevor takes them as well. Their defense is okay. Trayvon Walker, they've got some good defense back there, but that also needs some improvement. But they want to see something splash. They got a young GM, they got a young head coach. They're going to be moving pieces quickly, and I think they're one of my candidates for a team that can jump up the highest this season. Because if Trevor can go back to what he was at Clemson in high school, then we're talking about a potential top 10 guy in the league. But if he can't, then they'll stick here right around the 20s. Um, at pick number 21, I am going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I like what they did this offseason in terms of what they did in the draft. Some impactful players, but I think that there's probably still a lot of work to be done. I think Marvin Harrison is going to take that step this season. I think he's a guy who didn't play up to his own standard last season, and he's kind of out to prove him wrong a little bit here.
Well, when you
What are
when
your
you
thoughts
have
on
Kyler Murray as your quarterback,
that?
you're bound to fail.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
What
that's
what's your evaluation of Kyler as a quarterback?
he sucks. It could be the Seahawks fan in me talking, but Kyler Murray, in my opinion, not a good quarterback. He doesn't have a build for a quarterback. 5'9", he can't even see over his own offensive line. And like he throws a lot of interceptions. He doesn't make too many smart plays. He does have some good legs on him. I will say, a couple years back when he first got drafted, he was a very good quarterback. He was doing some good things for the Cardinals. They made playoffs a couple times. But I mean, ever since then, it's just been a rapid decline. So you got to wonder if do you bring in a new QB soon, or do you stick with your guy you've had for a while and try to surround him with even more weapons? Even though you did get arguably the best receiver coming out of the draft last year, which I still say was Malik Neighbors. I said that before the draft happened too, but they still took Marvin Harrison Jr., which okay, it's not a bad pick, but now what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing to surround Kyler Murray? Because no receivers drafted, so it's just Marvin Harrison Jr. Where we saw what happened when it was just him last season.
Yeah,
What did
he's
the
gonna get
Cardinals do?
doubled.
And
No,
then
100%.
I don't I don't see like you just have James Conner as your running back. Trey Benson, not bad. He's solid guy, pretty reliable, but he's one of those J.K. Dobbin type running backs where they'll get like a random 20-yard rush and then call it for the rest of the game. So I don't think the Cardinals did enough to build their weapons this season. I still think they're going to be at the bottom of the NFC West. They're a very mediocre team, so all of their players are not elite. They're all just mediocre, and it's just how it's going to be because they don't want to surround their veterans with help. What I do like was Will Johnson in the second round. Will Johnson, great pickup, great cornerback. He did have some questionable tape last year. Wasn't as good as his 2023 season, and he did have that knee injury that a lot of NFL teams were looking out for. But I don't think that would be a problem. I think he'll still be able to do good things, and it just gives some help to the defense.
Yeah, for sure. Main concern with Will Johnson, injury status. Thought Walter Nolan was a good pickup for him. I think that there's, like you said, I think a lot of it's average, but kind of a TBD situation where we need to see what they want to do with Kyler. At your next pick here, where I think we're at 20,
Yeah.
who'd you pick at number 20?
At 20, we got the New England Patriots. New England Patriots, one of the
Ooh,
they drafted the best in this 2025 draft. And I have them at 20, but it's just because their team is not, still too young to be doing crazy things, and you have Josh Allen in that division. So I don't think they make playoffs. I think you give them 1 or 2 years, and they could make a wild card team. But I really like what they did drafting Will Campbell, as we talked about before. And Drake May is a very, very solid quarterback. That was a very good pickup for them. I honestly didn't expect him to be as good as he was. He played very good. It's just that his team wasn't the best. But now they have a veteran wide receiver with Stephon Diggs. They got Kyle Williams in the third round. So, I think the Patriots could do pretty decent, maybe a eight and nine season coming up for them.
Yeah, don't mind it at all. Pats absolutely nailed the first 3 rounds of the draft. Will Campbell, home run pick. I really like me some Travion Henderson, a guy who can be
Mm.
electric. Ramondre Stevenson is a guy who's going to come in and put the nails to your defense a little bit, whereas Travion Henderson is just going to fly past you. Kind of a fun, Walmart version of the Montgomery Gibbs situation that we see in Detroit. And then I mean, Kyle Williams, I thought in round three was one of the better picks of the draft. He is a really fun receiver. He's a guy who won't necessarily play right away. I think they've got some good depth in their receiver room as well. So maybe he won't get reps right away, but I think he has a chance to be their wide receiver too. Um, but there's a lot of guys there. I mean, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, and Keishon Butte as well. So a lot of people in that receiver room, and Kyle Williams is going to have to make his way. But as a guy who was underrated coming out of college, I think this is a perfect opportunity for him. Pat's team is going to be fun, man. I'm excited to see what Drake May can do, and yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
What do you think? You think this Ramondre Stevenson Trayvon Henderson combo will actually be that good, or you think that's just hopes they're wishing it'll be as good?
I think that they want Gibbs and Montgomery out of that duo. I personally think that Ramondre Stevenson, while he's an efficient runner, is going to get replaced as Travion Henderson. I think that they let Henderson become that workhorse guy, and then they bring in a guy like, I mean, they have Antonio Gibson out there already, but someone like Antonio Gibson, who's a bit younger, maybe a Tank Bigsby or someone who can back up Henderson. I think that they're just going to try to make this running back room younger, probably next season. Um, because why would you have Antonio Gibson, who's a bit of an older guy? Why would you have Ramondre Stevenson when your quarterback is 22, 23 years old? Get the entire just make it a youth movement. And I think that's what they're looking towards. I also think Diggs, I believe it's an option year where he is signed to 1 year, but both teams can get out of it after the first year. So I think he may be gone this offseason as well if they continue their youth movement. Kyle Williams shows us some stuff. Bit of a disappointment there with Jalen Polk last season, so hopefully he can show us something this season. Yeah, go from there. At pick 19, I had San Francisco 49ers. This is a team that I thought they didn't draft incredibly, but I still think that, with the weapons they have on their team, I thought Debo leaving was important for Ricky Pearsall's development. I
Mm.
understand they don't play the same type of receiver position, but just allowing him to be on the field more as the wide receiver too. I think Ayuk is solidified as a maybe top 15, top 20 guy in our league. So to have him out there, to have Ricky Pearsall out there, maybe you get some of those other guys involved, Jacob Cowing, and let them play in this offense a little bit. I think we could see some electricity, but we do have them kind of falling outside of a playoff spot in terms of just the top 16 teams in the league. It's going to be tough for them to make some sort of huge jump because I don't feel like they made any huge moves.
Dude, letting Debo go was actually a very good decision for the Niners because they do have Juwan Jennings, they do have Brandon Ayuk, they have Ricky Pearsall, so they have a very, very solid wide receiver room. I think what they need to do, I think they need to start finding a replacement for CMC because the way it's looking, it doesn't look like he's coming back to play at full speed because he got injured pretty bad last season. He was out for a while. I think it was the first week. I think you drafted him first round too. or some like that was with a lot of people. People drafted him in fantasy. He got injured, and he just hasn't come back and been the same player ever since that injury. And I think their offseason moves pretty mediocre. They didn't really do anything to stand out among these other teams that had some pretty crazy moves.
Yeah, they picked up Mac Jones. They got Curtis Rourke from the draft. For some reason, they picked up two quarterbacks basically. I think as far as CMC goes, I think they're looking at it a little bit. They kept Isaac Grando around, shipped off Jordan Mason. But they did draft Jordan James, who I think has some of the stuff that Jordan Mason had that they really liked. That inside outside movement, a guy who can really burst his way through the offensive line. So I think they're looking at it a little bit. But that being said, I don't feel like Garendo or James really becomes a good replacement for CMC, a guy who can really take on that 20 to 30 touches per game workload. Like that's really tough to do. That's a guy you're gonna have to get in free agency. You can't really find those guys in third, fourth, fifth rounds of drafts. So see where the Niners go from here. But I think we'll see some fun moments and some George Kittle. But he's on his way out too. So this team has they kind of have to figure out a direction. Are we sticking with Purdy and we're committing to the future? Are we getting rid of Purdy and we're going to revamp a new future? Who's our guy? Who's our number one guy? Because I don't think it's Ayuk. I think Ayuk's a very good player. I don't think he's not a Justin Jefferson. He's not a Jamar Chase. He's not even Nico Collins. So
He's too much of a diva. Like he wants too much for the amount of value he puts out, which I understand why the Niners were hesitant to give him such a big contract because exactly what they feared would happen. He didn't do good and he got injured. It was two of the things they didn't want to happen
yep,
after giving him a
exactly what
contract,
happened. Yep.
which he was crying for the entire offseason and season. There was so many talks of him. Oh, is Brandon Ayuk coming back to the Niners? I mean, it was pretty obvious he was going to stay with them. He just wanted them to give him a bag.
No, for sure. So guys, I think we're gonna cut it after our first 16 teams today. So we'll go over our last two teams here. At pick 18, who do you got?
18, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Bengals,
Good pick.
they have I will say this. Joe Burrow, best quarterback in the entire football in the NFL.
Ooh, hot take.
I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback, just the way he plays, and he's the only one who's beat Patrick Mahomes besides Jalen Hurts. So I think what they need to do is they need to give him an O line and they need to give him a defense. They didn't really draft too many people in defense. They got Shamar Stewart, great pick. They got Demetrius Knight, another great pick. But other than that, their defense is still lacking. Their cornerback still lacking. They still have Trey Hendrickson, which he did really good last year. He was that Miles Garrett player for them. So I think the Bengals, they're just going to be another one of those mediocre teams, and they have some decent competition in their division, so it will be hard for them to make playoffs.
Yeah, they're gonna have to beat out the Steelers, who are consistent 8-8. So if you're not going above, or sorry, 8-9 or 9-8, so if you're not going above that, you're not making the playoffs. And they would have to be a wild card team because they're not taking out the Ravens for the
Yeah,
number one spot. But I thought the Bengals had the worst draft out of everyone.
really.
I think it was either the Bengals or the Ravens. I think that picking Shamar Stewart, good player, but the production is just not there, and it's kind of like an Anthony Richardson situation. I get it; it's a Slater pick, but you're picking a guy who's strictly going off of physical and not off of production. I mean, 3 sacks. Like, come on, what are we talking about? This guy, he's a good player, but I think it's a big risk to take when you kind of need a home run hitter on your defensive side.
Yeah,
You
I
got Joseph Osai starting above him, and I don't see him making a huge impact.
I don't understand the Shamar Stewart. Like Shamar Stewart, good player, but I feel like they could have gotten a couple better players before him that would have
Oh, there was
helped.
much better. There was a lot of depth on the board. Honestly, a guy who I thought maybe the Bengals could have considered, or even a team after them was Jihad Campbell, who went to the Eagles. I mean,
Oh yeah,
always it's always the Eagles, but I
the
mean, come
Eagles
on,
got a
like
demon.
I really I had it was Jihad Campbell and then Shamar Stewart as in terms of how those two are ranked for me, and I just don't see how it was flipped the other way.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't get how Jihad Campbell went down to the Eagles. The Bengals needed him. They needed the exact type of player. Jihad Campbell is obviously a better pick. I still like Shamar Stewart as a pick, but just not this high. I think if the Eagles took him, that would have been a good pick for them. But now the Eagles got another demon on their defense. So
as usual. Going to our final team here, I have picked the Atlanta Falcons. Probably the Buccaneers' best competition in terms of the NFC South, but I think there's still some holes to fill on the defensive side.
yeah, for sure.
I thought they made some interesting moves in the draft, kind of leveraged their future. I mean, actually, I won't even say interesting. I think that trade to get James Pierce Jr. was just flat out bad.
Hmm.
You got the 26th pick in the draft. Great. You traded a first next year. So unless you finish 26th or worst in terms of draft order, so you're talking about making it
Playoff
to the
caliber.
divisional round, making it almost to the championship round, top 16. That's the only way that you have plus EV. And I'm not even counting the other picks that were traded as well. So at that point, it's like, why make the trade at all? James Pierce Jr., great player. But I mean, they had a second round pick that was just below there that they traded away as well. And it was like, I think he was going to fall there anyways. So I get they wanted to get their guy. You know, they got Jalen Walker, they got James Pierce Jr. They said, bang, bang, we need to improve this defense immediately. But do you really want to leverage your future, for a guy in James Pierce Jr. who we're not so sure about anymore? You know, he was a home run pick last year, and now he fell to 26 in the draft. So, I mean, it's TBD with the Falcons. It's going to be how efficient is Michael Penix Jr. How good is Bijan Robinson? Is he a guy who's going to be 4.3 yards per carry, or can he jump into that next step and maybe hit 5 yards per carry and really show that he bursts through the offensive line consistently? Because Tyler Algier was biting into his carries a little bit there towards the end of the season.
I do think Bijan Robinson won't be as productive as people say he is. I think he's a very overrated running back. He's not as good as people say he is. Of course, he'll have that one like 70-yard rush or whatever, but that can happen to any running back. Any running back will be able to see the hole and run through it if it's there. I think that the Falcons should start to consider maybe having someone that could help Bijan split the carries a little bit, Demo Gibbs situation. But other than that, I think they did pretty well drafting a defense. Their offense was already, it wasn't bad. We just need to see what Michael Penix can do because we only saw him for 1 or 2 games. And that whole situation where they signed Kirk Cousins and then picked Michael Penix, I didn't like that. Just because I feel like Michael Penix's talents were getting wasted because he could have been playing for a team that would have started him. I think if the Saints or someone had taken Michael Penix and he got playtime over there, he would have done a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they continue to leverage their future for a better today, and that's not necessarily always the best thing to do in the NFL. Um, And yeah, guys, those are that. We'll say this is part one.
Yeah,
This is
part
part
one.
one of our off-season power rankings. We'll be back next week with
Part
the
two.
second part. Got a lot of good insights coming up, but I hope you guys enjoyed our first episode. We certainly enjoyed making it. It's really just a
Yep.
conversation between the two of us. We love chatting football. If you stayed around this long, be sure to give us a follow. Adam, I know you mentioned we have TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Twitter. We're gonna be uploading this on the YouTube as well. And we're excited, man. We're
Yep.
building something great here
All right, guys.
for sure.
Appreciate the listen.
And we'll see you guys next week.